Hello, I'm Dan Barker. I'm co-president of the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And today I want to remember the life of our good friend, Steve Benson. Steve Benson was the editorial cartoonist at the Arizona Republic for nearly 40 years. He was the first grandson of the Mormon president, Ezra Taft Benson, who was also the Secretary of Agriculture under Eisenhower. Here is Steve in the White House when he was a baby. Steve says he was the other bald guy in the room. As a devout Mormon who had served a 2-year mission to Japan, Steve started out as a conservative cartoonist. In the 1980s, Annie Laurie, working at the Freedom from Religion Foundation, wrote Steve a letter complaining about his mischaracterization of humanists in one of his cartoons. But then, about a decade later, another cartoon by Benson caught her eye. Steve won the Pulitzer Prize in 1993. He won the prize for a collection of cartoons. That collection included this shocking drawing. Little did we know that Steve had abandoned his faith and become a non-believer. And before everyone's eyes, a conservative editorial cartoonist evolved into an irreverent liberal cartoonist. After hearing about Steve's dramatic change, we offered him FFRF's Tell It Like It Is award for freethinkers in the media. He came to the 1999 convention of the Freedom from Religion Foundation in San Antonio to accept the award. His acceptance speech was called From Latter-day Saint to Latter-day Ain't. When Steve and I met at that convention, we immediately became friends. We had both been conservative missionaries who left the faith, and we were both artistic. His drawings and my music. And both of our talents involved words. His cartoons had gags, and my songs have lyrics. Very soon after we met, Steve suggested that we could combine our talents to produce a show. Thus was born Tunes in Tunes. We performed Tunes in Tunes all over the country, at least a dozen times, maybe 15 times, at FFRF conventions, at chapter meetings, for a feminist gathering in Arizona, for a conference of gay Mormons. One of the most memorable performances of Tunes in Tunes was in October 2001 for the first annual conference of ex-Mormons, which was held during the Mormon General Conference in Salt Lake City, where we debuted our satirical song, The Salt Lake City Blues.
With my decaffeinated beverage and 17 fiancés.
Some of the audience members were falling onto the floor laughing when they heard us singing that song.
They got some real peculiar people there, and I'm gonna meet me some. Take that, Brigham Young.
You can hear that song on FFRF's Beware of Dogma album. Steve drew the artwork for that cover. One of our favorite songs is called YBSA, taking the melody of YMCA by the Village People and changing it. Here is Steve wearing his old Boy Scout cap while we were performing the song.
Young man, did you say you're a scout? I say, young man. If you're gay, then watch out. I say, young man. In the new BSA, there is no way for you to stay, young man.
Another song we performed changed God Bless America to God Less America.
God bless America, my home, sweet home.
And here's Steve wearing his godless shirt in the Mormon bookstore in Salt Lake City, holding a photo of his grandfather, Ezra Taft Benson. He never hesitated to let it be known he was an atheist. Unfortunately, his newspaper didn't allow us to videotape our shows, so it's all in our memories. Steve received FFRF's Emperor Has No Clothes Award in 2002. After Steve was let go from the Arizona Republic in 2019, we hired him to draw cartoons for us. Those cartoons have appeared in newspaper ads, such as FFRF's New York Times ads, and in Scientific American, as well as to help illustrate FFRF communications. Steve gave us cartoons for FFRF's 2023 wall calendar. He even appeared on the side of city buses in Madison, Wisconsin. For more than a quarter century, Steve was my best male friend. He had a massive stroke in 2024, from which he never recovered. He died in July of this year. Steve will be greatly missed by all of us for his talent, his constant sense of goofy humor, his boundless creativity, his insights on social and political issues, his opposition to superstition, his commitment to reason and equality, his generous support for FFRF and other free thought humanist organizations, and his genuine friendship. But no one misses him more than his wife, Claire.
I am so grateful for the opportunity to talk about Steve and a little bit about who he was from on a personal level. And my first thought is, how do you explain Steve Benson? And I thought, you know, what would be one thing that I would say about him that to me would encompass him? Well, I couldn't come up with just one, but the first thing that I would say about him is that he had the most tender heart, the biggest heart, and he loved so fiercely and was so kind, was gentle and sweet, and there was an innocence about him that I don't know came across a lot in public. Certainly if you disagreed with him and he was coming after you on social media or on a forum. But that really is, to me, the first thing I'd say about him. And the other thing I would say about him, and I've thought this quite a few times since we lost him, is despite the things that we would go out and do and the trips we took, I loved being at home with him, and we were a little bit boring together. And it was a magical boring, if there is such a thing. And it was just wonderful. And I just love him so much. He really, really was the sweetest, kindest, nicest, the most tender-hearted human being that I've ever met, and I just love him so much. Thank you for loving him too. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. A votive is a vow, and I light this secular votive as a vow never to forget Steve Benson's life, his work, and his friendship.